Understood, no canvas will be used. Here's part 1 of the story. Have you ever watched someone you care about transform into a stranger right before your eyes? I did when my sister, Brooke, introduced me to her new boyfriend, Cole, whom she raved over like she'd discovered a secret garden. But I noticed something she didn't. He never let his phone out of his sight. Every buzz, every flash of light, sent him slipping into another womb. I'm Avery, her twin, and this is how I followed the trail of whispers that revealed a hidden life he hoped to keep buried. It started the night they invited me over for dinner. My mom's lasagna was bubbling, the table set with fine china, and Brooke beamed as she introduced Cole, the calm in his tailored suit. The easy charm that melted into a guarded look the second his phone vibrated. He excused himself to the hallway before Mom even finished, lean profile lonely in the doorway's glow. Just laughed it off. Work call, she said. But the way his shoulders tensed didn't match a routine. Over the next week, whenever I visited, his phone was glued to his hand. Brunch, he'd hover by the kitchen counter, hiding it behind his back. At the movies, he texted in the dark, thumb lightning fast. Once, I caught him pressing the screen to his chest, as if shielding its secrets. Skin crawled with questions I didn't dare voice to Brooke. She was smitten. Then came Friday. They asked me to join them for karaoke at the Nightingale. In the neon haze, Cole's phone buzzed once, twice. He fled through the back door before I could sing the first chorus. Brooke chased him outside, returned 10 minutes later, red-faced, furious. He's dealing with something, she said. I don't know what. I hid a glance at her, torn between sympathy and warning. Determined, I stayed late, scanning the empty bar for him. In a back hallway, I found him on his knees, face pressed to his screen, whispering, "Not yet. Just a few more hours." Cracked the door and heard the words cling to my heart like ice. If they find out, it's over. My pulse hammered. He wasn't waiting for work calls. He was hiding from someone. That night, I researched every Cole Davis in town. I found 3 men, each with an alias. Carlos da Silva in Arizona, a Colton Davis in Nevada, a Colden Davis wanted for grand larceny. The phone number Brooke had for him traced to an empty house 2 counties away. Pictures on social media, stolen from a model's account. My chin hit the keyboard. Stolen identity. Armed with printouts, I marched to Bloom and Reese Investigations, the private detective firm, where my friend Casey interned. Casey ran a background check. Definitely fraud, she said. And a restraining order in Oregon for stalking. This guy's bad news. My stomach flipped. Thanked her, tucked the files into my tote, and went home with a plan. I'd show Brooke everything. Proof not as a jealous sister, but as a guardian rousing her from a dream. When I arrived, I found them in the living room. Brooke on the couch, Cole pacing by the window. I laid the papers before her. Look, I said. Her jaw dropped. Cole froze. It's not what it looks like, he stammered. She scanned a restraining order form, a mugshot, the alias list. You lied to me, she whispered, voice cracking. He sank to the floor. I needed a fresh start, he said. I never meant to hurt you. Brooke's eyes glistened. That's where all the secrets came from, she said, tears falling. You couldn't even trust me. I knelt beside her, squeezed her hand. You deserve the truth, I said. All of it. Cole closed his eyes, shame blooming across his face. I'll go, he said. I'll leave. Brooke rose, wiping her cheeks. It's too late. He turned away. He stood, hesitated, then slipped through the front door. The couch felt empty where he'd been. Later, Brooke thanked me, quietly through her tears. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Hugged her. Better now than never. She nodded, sniffling. I know. That night I lay awake, replaying every secret he'd hidden, every lie he'd told. My sister's heart had been his shield until I pierced it with the truth. And though the fallout stung, I knew I'd done what love demands, facing the darkness to bring back the light. Tomorrow, Brooke would start over, stronger, wiser, her eyes open. And I would be there, always listening, always watching, so no secret could ever twist the knife in her back again. When the front door clicked shut behind Cole, the silence he left in his wake felt louder than any argument. I watched Brooke's shoulders tremble, her back straight despite the heartbreak I knew pulsed through every bone. For a few heavy seconds, neither of us moved, just two sisters anchored in grief. Then Brooke turned to me, eyes bright despite tears. "He's gone," she said, voice quiet as broken glass. "I can't believe he lied to me." I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around her. "I'm here," I whispered. "Whatever you need." Together we sank onto the couch, the maelstrom of emotions finally unspooling in the form of long shuddering breaths. Brooke buried her face in her hands. I feel stupid," she sobbed. "How did I not see it?" I cupped her cheek. "He was good," I said gently. "And you trusted him, that's not your fault." She sniffled, pulling back enough to look at me. "Thank you for saving me." I gave her hand a squeeze. "Let's go through everything," I said. "Every text, every email. We'll make sense of it all." Over the next 2 days, we crawled through our digital lives like detectives examining a crime. Brooke sat cross-legged on the floor, laptop balanced on her knees as I laid out printouts of every message that ever pinged to Cole. We marked out the lies. January 5th. He claimed a family emergency. "Can't see you for a bit." That evening, geolocation on an Instagram photo showed him in Chicago, 2 states away. February 12th. He said he lost his wallet. Could I pay for dinner? The Venmo charge actually went to Jackson Miles, an alias from the detective's report. March 3rd. He cancelled a long-planned weekend getaway, citing work. Cell tower data placed him in Seattle, chaining him to the alias Carlos da Silva. Each revelation was a blow, but together they formed a map of a man too fractured even to be real. Brooke's fingers trembled as she scrolled, each swipe another reminder of trust betrayed. Yet with every lie uncovered, she grew more determined. "I'm done being his secret," she said, voice steady. "Now what do we do?" "Close the laptop." "We reclaim your narrative," I replied. "You tell your story. I'll help." We drafted an email to the detective from Bloom and Reese, the private eyes Casey worked for, attaching our evidence. "Can you help me press charges for identity theft and fraud?" "Brooke." She paused, took a breath and hit send. On Wednesday, the detective flew in from the city. We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks away, neutral ground. Casey greeted us with a warm hug and led us to a quiet corner. Over lattes, she laid out our options. 1. Civil fraud suit. Sue for restitution. She explained the timeline. File within 90 days of discovery. Seek damages for money lost on phony dinner bills and gifts. 2. Criminal charges. Encourage the DA to press charges for identity theft, credit card fraud, and possibly stalking given the restraining order history. 3. Protective order. Extend safety measures. No contact orders, monitoring of credit. Report changes and relocation services if needed. Brooke leaned forward, steel in her gaze. "We'll do it all," she declared. "I want him to answer for every lie." Casey nodded, admiration in her eyes. "Then let's get to work." Back home, we assembled our case binder, printed messages, bank statements, the restraining order, detective's notes. Paige arrived with fresh flowers and offered to help us draft the court filings in her clear, polished handwriting. Eli, ever the tech wizard, set up credit alerts to catch any future identity fraud attempts. In 3 days, we had a full plan. File the civil suit, deliver our packet to the DA's office, and set up a protective order hearing for the next week. That Friday morning, Brooke and I sat in a cramped room behind the county courthouse. We filed the protective order against Cole under the pseudonym John Doe, since his real identity was all a patchwork of fictions. The judge peered at us over his glasses. "Ms. Harper, I see you have substantial evidence of harassment." He nodded at the folder. "Temporary order granted. He must stay 500 feet away until the hearing." Relief washed over us. Outside, the sun felt brighter than June usually is. Brooke hugged me so tightly I thought she'd mash my ribs. "Thank you," she whispered, "for pushing me." I squeezed her back. "You did it." That afternoon, we delivered the criminal complaint to a DA's assistant who promised to fast-track the investigation. We watched as they scanned our documents, the weight of our truth finally landing on official desks. As we left, I heard her murmur, "We'll get him," and I felt the gentle lift of justice in the air. Over the next 2 weeks, life settled into a new rhythm. Brooke faced the fallout from friends and co-workers who'd only seen the polished front of her relationship. She held her head high as she explained why she'd broken things off. Some nodded with sympathy, others with envy. No one envied her pain, but they all respected her reclaiming her power. I stayed close, helping her prepare for the civil hearing, mock questions, practicing her testimony until her voice rang with conviction. And when the day came, she strode into the courtroom in a navy blazer, carrying herself with a poise I recognized from our childhood plays. On the stand, she spoke clearly, describing each deceit, each broken promise, each stolen dollar. She didn't shed tears, except once, when she recounted how he watched her laugh like a spectator at a show he'd rigged. The jury's eyes softened, and at the end, the judge awarded her full restitution plus punitive damages, a symbolic $10,000 to mark the breach of trust. Meanwhile, the DA's investigation turned up a criminal record. Cole Davis and Jackson Miles were the same man, Arman Nizami, a career con artist. They uncovered his trail of broken identities across 4 states. He was arrested in a small motel in Kansas for identity fraud and court harassment of another ex-girlfriend. When the officers led him out in handcuffs, hair askew and eyes dull, Brooke felt no thrill of victory, only a quiet sense of justice met. One bracing Sunday morning, Dad surprised us by cooking pancakes, our old ritual whenever we'd triumph over something hard. He flipped golden rounds while we gathered in the kitchen, the binder of court documents open on the counter. Brooke reached for the family syrup, tears glistening. "We did it," she said. "We saw it through." I raised my fork. "To truth," I toasted. "And to never letting anyone dim your light." Brooke clinked, her fork against mine. "And to sisters who won't back down." Mom poured coffee and Paige placed flowers in a vase by the window. That afternoon, we cleared out the living room where Cole's photos once sat. We packed his ghost into a cardboard box and took it to the recycling bin. His smiles crumpled in the dumpster, finally gone. As the lid clanged shut, I felt a weight lift from my chest, like I'd exhaled a secret I'd held for too long. The next Saturday, Brooke and I delivered care packages to women's shelters, gift cards, notebooks, phone chargers, and copies of the protective order forms she'd used. "Everyone deserves to know they can stand up," Brooke said, handing a package to a counselor. Don't have to stay silent." I watched the counselor's eyes sparkle with hope. Driving home, the sun gilded the highway, and I glanced at my sister, strong, unbroken, the woman she'd always been beneath the lies. I realized that the hooks that once ensnared us, secrets, deception, fear, had been tools we'd turned against injustice, and in doing so we discovered the true power of love, to protect, to persevere, and to emerge from darkness into the fierce light of our own resilience. Because sometimes it takes 2 sisters, one bold enough to follow the whispers, the other brave enough to face the fallout, to rewrite a story from betrayal into victory. And that kind of plot twist is the most human and the most hopeful of all.